and I don't dare to try.
I think when they get their prisoners back, that they'll probably start sorting again.
I would assume, sure.
But right now, they don't have the prisoners who normally do the sorting.
Right.
And I think we're all of the opinion this is just a temporary situation once we get through this.
Yeah, but it's been temporary for 4 months.
Yes, sir, I understand.
And they're saying there's gonna be a resurgence in November, so it could go another 6 months.
Oh, don't even say that. Don't say that.
Hey, this is, you know, if you're going to do these suppositions, that's where we are. I'm gonna tell you, and I will take all the heat in the world for this. If we are going to just throw our trash in the landfills, let's quit pretending that we're not. That's what we're doing. What in the world did we ever go through all of this for? I understand we have issues.
Yes, sir.
COVID, restaurants have issues, businesses have issues. They're all struggling just to keep their head above water. But we are just taking our recycling, everything that we have been doing for years, saying, oh no, we're not going to do that because it's not good for the environment. We're throwing it out of the window because there is a problem. And I am not happy.
It's manpower.
It is manpower.
And it's not our we can't help it, neither can they.
That's what I keep
Neither can the
hearing.
county, for that matter.
Huh?
The county can't help it.
No,
either.
the county, that's what I'm
Unless
told.
they hire some people off the street to do it.
No.
I mean, you can still put it in a bag together in the trash can,
Mm-hmm.
and it makes it easier once they get to where they go with it.
Okay.
If people are really serious about it, but it still needs to go in the garbage can, because it's not gonna get picked up. Our blue bin was sitting.
Well, no, they'll pick it up in the blue containers.
If you leave it out on Thursday.
If you leave it out on Wednesday.
No, they pick it up on Thursday.
Wednesday,
I leave it out on Wednesday, they don't pick it up, but they come back for it on Thursday.
You generally try to pick it up on Wednesday, right?
Well,
No.
we're not able to right now, just because we're short of man people,
Okay.
but we're running a double route.
You used to pick it up on
Yes,
Wednesday.
and that will absolutely be the case again.
Yeah, that's what they used to do.
Okay, Your Honor.
Trip,
Yes, sir.
what would be your suggestion we do with a recyclable? Do we put it in the bins? Do we put it in the waste basket?
We're happy to do whichever way the city would prefer.
My point
And
is,
it's going to end up at the end as we haul it.
in household
In
garbage.
the same place.
My point is that if we do not do that recyclable bin,
Yes, sir.
and we put it in to our regular household garbage bin, then that would take some heat off of you as far as to come by and pick up recyclable.
It
Wouldn't
would probably take some of it off of us, but we are trying to meet the terms of the contract.
They wouldn't have to do a double run on Thursday.
Exactly. So,
They wouldn't have to
But,
come back.
that's gonna be,
The only concern would be is if they get the manpower back in a few months, then you gotta start it back up.
Yeah.
we fully intend to, once we're allowed to,
Right, when I say then,
Sure,
when the
yeah.
county, once the
Sure.
county says
Yeah.
we'll do it again, then we gotta
Yeah.
start back up.
yes. Yeah.
Go ahead, Dana.
But you would, I guarantee you, if you do that, and you're gonna have somebody, and they're gonna see the recyclable stuff thrown into the household garbage, you're still gonna have some complaints that's gonna come up, wanting to know why, because the word hadn't got out.
They're gonna complain whether you do or not.
Dana, you had something to say.
Yes, in regards to your question, Mayor, I think possibly it might be something to consider too, and you almost have alluded to it, is what would be the easiest long-term for your residents? Yes, your suggestion, it would for us short-term take some heat off of us, but I worry about, ideally, we want to go back to full recycling for the city of Williston, and we want Levy County to go back to sorting, and I worry that if we get some of your residents out of that habit, that it'll be even harder to go back to. So I just want to throw that out there. I don't have the answer.
You're in a catch-22, a
Yeah.
damned if you do, damned if you don't
Yeah.
situation right now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I agree with her in that, that's one of the reasons we're still coming back, because we don't want to train the residents not to recycle.
But once they see,
And,
Right,
sure, no,
see
I
that,
completely agree.
yeah, I mean, it's a
Because
catch
they take all our
22.
office as well.
Oh, yeah,
So,
yeah.
And I'm of the opinion that once they turn it back on with the county, is we need to advertise recycling is 100% back in whichever form that you want it. Wilson Pioneer, online, city page, Facebook, however we can best get the word out immediately that we're full going.
All of the above.
I'm fine with all that, and we want to be the good partner and do that. So we gotta, we're perfect, right?
Okay.
So,
So is all of the council aware of the terms being offered at this time? Would anybody like to just accept those terms, or would we like to continue down this path and try to resolve contract issues prior to accepting terms?
I'd say do it all at once.
I say accept the terms and work out the contract issues.
Okay, that's two different points of view.
Right there.
What do you say?
Well, I think we need to work on the contract.
Okay. Vice President Hitt?
Contract and contract.
When you say work on the contract, what do you
Iron out the differences
Iron out
in
the
these two
differences.
contracts
mean?
and
Before we ever discuss the actual offer.
whether we're going to accept the offer or not.
Exactly.
I agree.
I'm ready to accept the offer,
And two.
contingent upon getting the contract written properly, with
Yeah.
the language we want in it. We have our representation to make sure that what we want is in there.
Okay? Accept the terms, work on the contract.
Same thing,
Accept the terms, work on the contract,
right?
based contingent upon an agreement to a contract.
Yes.
So we're all clear.
Yeah, understood.
Accept the terms,
Yes.
work on the contract, don't accept the terms until you get the contract. Is that correct?
Correct.
I agree with you, so it's a 3-2 vote, we're outvoted.
That's the way it goes.
So, it appears that tentatively, based upon an agreement to the terms, and that we can reach a contract, the council majority has elected to accept your proposal of a 2% increase, no CPI increase in the contract, simply a referral that you have the right, which of course you do without a contract, the right to bring it back to the council in future years to ask for an increase based upon the CPI. Is that what we are all agreeing to?
Yes, that's correct.
That's what the majority of the council is agreeing
Yes, sir.
to.
And for clarification, my understanding is that Mayor Robinson will be sending us what this council would like to see worked out. We're not
Not
gonna get,
correct.
no?
He will be sending you the 2 copies of the contract. It is up to this council to work out the
I
details
will
of the
be-
contract.
okay.
What I did is I took both contracts
Yes,
and looked at it and whatever. I'm just pointing out the differences.
and these differences that you're gonna be pointing out, are these the differences
That's
that
the
you want
stuff
to
that the
see?
council will be discussing with you as far as the new contract.
Okay, cause I do have both.
And the rest of the council hasn't read this document.
That's right, we just
Oh.
received,
Okay,
I still haven't received them, but evidently
I haven't
some
read it.
people got copies of the contract
It was
sitting
on
here
my-
tonight.
Yeah,
okay,
it was on my
understood.
desk when I got here.
Then let me extend that each one of you is, at any time, is more than welcome to contact myself and/or Tripp to discuss any questions as you're reading these contracts, to clarify anything, that's absolutely part of the process, and I understand that completely.
Okay?
So that would be fine.
And who's gonna write the contract? Are we
That's
writing,
an
are we
excellent
writing
question.
it, or is Mr. Kirby
Well-
writing it?
Mr. Coberlin is not going to be writing it. Mr. Coberlin might look at it. We are going to be writing it. The city manager is not going to be writing it
He can't write it.
because he can't.
But you're
So
not
that
gonna write
means we are going to write it. So let's just be clear, I suggest that every member of the council look at these two contracts. Anyone that wants input into the contract at the next council meeting, bring what your input is, and we will set it on the agenda, Mrs. Wright, for the next council meeting, so that we can come up with a complete contract in the next council meeting.
I'd rather have a contract in front of me when I get here.
Well, what if everyone doesn't agree with your contract?
Then we tweak it.
Okay, well, write it.
I mean, because if not, I can do that if you want
Yeah,
me to.
right.
I don't know if you want me to or not.
I didn't say I wanted to, I may not agree with it, we may do a lot of tweaking.
No, but I think we need a contract with all this together in it. So
I
we
have
can read
no
it.
problem with it.
President,
Yes,
how long is it gonna take with everybody
A long
with
time.
their own opinions
Yeah.
to get this done?
That's
That's
that
one
is
item
an
on the
excellent
agenda.
question, and my thought process, and it's just my thought process, is that we are looking at two contracts that are pre-existing. And the only question I have is, do we include this, that, or the other? And the only thing that we would need to bring to the next, my opinion, the only thing we have to bring to the next council meeting is which of these items we want included in our contract. Your Honor, if you have something to say, please step forward. Okay. But it's the will of the council. If you want to have a contract in front of you, then we have to decide how you're gonna do that, because we can't meet out of the sunshine.
Well, I just mean it needs to be written by someone,
Well, who?
that whoever you assign, that's why I asked you.
You
who
want me
assign.
to assign someone?
What you're gonna put in the contract before you can write a contract.
Exactly. We'll put it all in there. Put it all back in there if you have to, and we'll take out what we don't want. Well, that's what you're asking when you give us this, right?
No, I'm not asking anything. What I am providing them is the differences, what I have seen in the 2012-2017 contract. This is what I have given you, this is what I'm going to give.
Okay,
But
let's
why
see
would
if we
you
can
back
get
up?
to the bottom of this.
What, can I?
Would the council like me to assign somebody to write that contract for us to look at?
Mr. President,
Yes, who is that? Hi, Mr. Coberlin.
I wanna know, wait a minute, why did you back up to the 2012 contract if you didn't want those things in there?
I wanted to see what the differences were
Didn't say that.
between the 2012 and 2017.
That's just showing you the differences
I know
between
that.
12 and 17.
Okay, now let Mr. Coberlin comment, please. He may have something germane.
I'm still discussing the other thing.
I understand, we're going back to it.
Probably
It's
not.
just- He doesn't often interrupt. You have the floor, sir.
I feel pressure.
Since you showed the rest of
Good.
it.
Say something germane.
It's your go, it's your turn.
Mr. President, the minutes reflect that we did not have a vote on the 3-month extension from the August 4th meeting. And I do like that procedure that you went through following it was a lot quicker. But we do need a motion and a second and a vote to extend the contract that expired on July 31st.
Understood.
If we have a 3-month extension, then if we could ask Waste Pro to propose something that they think the city council would like by the, say, within 2 meetings, that would give us approximately 6 weeks for the council to review it. Perhaps 2 weeks of those 6 weeks, we'd get back and hash out the revisions. And then we'd be very close to, we'd likely be very close to a final product, and Waste Pro in my office can work together to finalize that, to bring it back to you with about 2 meetings to spare.
My understanding was that the council had accepted Waste Pro's proposal,
Terms, yeah.
had their term.
On the 3-month extension?
No, sir.
Okay.
On the permanent,
Okay.
and correct me if I'm wrong, this council just voted 3-2, correct?
No official vote.
Okay, we did an opinion which we need to change to an official vote. But this council just expressed a willingness to accept the terms, not an extension, the final terms. That's what this council just indicated the desire for. Yes, you're correct, we need to have a formal vote.
I would also encourage, if we feel that that's the position, that I would encourage that we do adopt an extension
'cause we're gonna run out
until
of
we
time.
see a formal written final
He's
proposal.
saying,
Okay.
he's saying we're gonna run out of time, 'cause it's
Okay.
July 31st, or was it August?
I
We do
believe it
not
was
have it.
July 31st.
I think it was July 31st, so he's saying we need something.
Okay.
Yeah, the 2017 contract expired July 31st, and we're currently operating under a month-to-month with the same terms and conditions. And at the last meeting, we agreed to an extension to October 31st, as of right now.
And we had a verbatim agreement that they would extend it further if necessary.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So, I am so sorry for interrupting you, but he's so quiet. He usually doesn't
He
say
changed the
anything.
subject altogether though, so I'm not going back over there.
I'm so sorry. It was not my intention to subvert your point. So we're back to the same issue of, first of all, we need to get this memorialized with a vote. All those in favor of yes. Are you raising your hand before I say it?
We need to make a motion first. I'm
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion?
I move we accept a 3-year contract with Waste Pro, at a 2-year, 2% increase, in the first year, with them having the right to come back for the next 2 years to request a CPI.
Motion was made by Councilor Jones. Do I have a second? Your Honor?
With that motion that you just made, you just accepted the 2017 contract.
That is correct.
Without any amendments, without any additions, without any changes.
That was the
That
motion.
was the motion.
That was the motion, sir.
So
That
you-
was the motion. I'm gonna vote against it, but that was the motion.
That's wrong.
I can amend the motion if you'd like for me to.
Well, it's your motion.
I mean, I'm fine with the motion, because I'm reading a few of these things like on page 1, but for everybody else who might want to discuss the things that are here,
Okay,
and there are some substantive issues here.
okay. We have a motion on the floor. We can get a second, then we can go to discussion.
I think I got a second,
Okay.
but now I'm gonna amend the motion,
Okay,
that the motion includes the review and acceptance of any additional entries that may have been in the 2012 contract, as agreed to by the council on a previous review, on a subsequent review.
you lost.
In other words, we're gonna review it, just like we said we were.
Could you
Which
restate the
is what the
motion?
mayor wants me to do. Oh, for heaven's sake.
Well, I just don't, if I don't understand it, I don't
You
know
want me to
how.
redo the whole thing?
I just would like
Okay,
you
so I
to,
accept a 3-year contract with
Okay.
Waste Pro, with the first year at 2% increase, and the next 2 years that they have the right to come back and
Mhm.
request a CPI, we can take it or leave it.
Mhm.
And that we review the items that were in the 2012 contract for possible inclusion.
Would I be correct to say that your motion is that you
Accept the rate,
accept it
the terms,
based on
yeah,
being able to come to a negotiated settlement of the terms of the
I think
contract?
that's what I said, not in those exact words.
Mr. Coberlin?
I think Ms. Jones is saying that she would like to do a 3-year extension with those amendments. If we do a brand-new contract, we need to go through a waiver of our purchasing procedure manual. So an 3-year extension with those terms that Ms. Jones mentioned.
That's an important point. That's a very good legal point. We can do an extension, but if we're doing a new contract, with the extension, we can change the terms, correct? We don't have to operate under the 2017 terms.
We can revise and make some amendments.
Okay.
As Ms. Jones pointed out.
So I'm going to try to restate the motion,
Good luck.
and you correct me by all means.
Okay.
Your motion is that we're going to accept a extension of the contract with Waste Pro based upon the revision of the contract language.
And the terms that they have presented.
and the terms that is presented, and an acceptable contract negotiation being done.
Yes,
All that's in the motion.
that's it.
Do you want to still second that motion?
Right.
Okay, we have a lengthy motion. We have a very short second. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed to the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Nay.
I'll just
Nay.
click on it.
Nay. I don't know how it changed, but it changed.
Mr. Ross changed his mind.
That's okay, Mr. Ross has that right.
He does. But that's, you said you didn't know how it changed, that's it.
No. No, I know exactly how it changed. Okay,
Now, where are
so
we?
the motion failed.
I guess, but now what?
Well, now we go back to the drawing board and we continue to fight this.
It's your turn.
I cannot make a motion.
No.
Somebody else care to make a motion?
Do what?
That's a good question,
Well, we
Council.
just agreed to do something, except you changed your mind, so now we're back to where we started. We have no agreement.
We have a motion before us to accept the terms of the extension with contingent upon contract negotiations being successfully done. And two of us earlier said we would like to do the contract negotiations before we accept the contract. Three of us said we would accept them, but then we failed to get a vote because the council pointed out quite correctly that I needed to have a actual vote rather than a survey. So, does someone else want to make a motion that we do it differently?
I move we accept the rate as presented, the terms,
Okay,
for a 3-year contract with the 2% increase and the possibility of CPI at their, I'm gonna go back to my
so
original.
go ahead.
That's it,
That's it.
that's it.
What about the contract? We're accepting the 2017 terms of the contract.
That's what this one is.
Okay. Did everyone understand the motion? Does anybody wish to second that motion? Asking once? Asking twice? Motion fails from lack of a second.
Somebody else's turn.
Amen.
Well, I mean, I hate to ignore
Yes.
this, not knowing what this is.
May I suggest that perhaps we could table this until the council has an opportunity to look at these contracts, see the actual difference, which the mayor already knows the differences.
Wow.
And the mayor is wowing me, but I can handle that. I've been wowed before.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Let me just say that I think it's important that we accept their terms.
Okay. You have
Because
said
they
that.
gave them to us
Yes,
in a public meeting that
Yes.
we asked them for.
yes,
And we essentially, well, your survey, we agreed to that.
yes, but their vote failed.
I agree. But, well, the vote failed with the way the motion was reading.
We need to move on.
So somebody, well, we need to move on, but what do we need to move on to, Mr. Ross? Make a suggestion.
Next item on the agenda.
You can't do that, or we're right back where we started.
Mr. President?
Yes, Mrs. Miller.
So, if I'm hearing correctly, I think that the hang-up is not with the proposal that we've made tonight. The hang-up is, what's in some of the language of the actual contract that could be drafted.
That is
So,
my understanding.
however you want to make the motion, in my opinion, that we are perfectly okay if there's a motion to accept my proposal contingent on, the final document. I mean, that's not unheard of at all. and at least it allows us to continue on.
Yes.
I mean, I don't expect, Waste Pro does not have a habit of, not working with their cities. I mean,
Okay.
we would appreciate the vote to be, yes, we'll accept your proposal, Waste Pro, the 2% and the CTI ask. However, contingent upon final approval of the actual document.
Yes.
And I think that's probably gonna, answer everyone's questions here.
Well, I tried that, but I couldn't
Well,
get a motion.
Well, that's what I said. How much better can I get? I didn't use the word contingent upon.
No, your motion said that you accepted the 2017 without any.
The second one said that, the first
Without
one did
any-
not say that.
No,
My first one was exactly that, all except using the word contingent.
I agree.
Yes.
Yes.
With other municipalities that you work with, do you provide the contract or do they write the contract?
They write the contract.
I just don't see the contract as a big issue, other than it needs to be written, and we can't, in my opinion, you can't accept a proposal unless you put it contingent upon a successful negotiation of the contract.
I so moved.
But we tried that, and we've done that, and we've got a new motion based on the successful negotiation of a contract, and we have a new second. We will try a new vote with anybody who is in favor of, and I'm going to try to say it, accepting the conditions of the proposal from Waste Pro as they are presented, contingent upon the acceptance of a contract by
I don't
both
like the
parties.
contingency.
Sir?
I don't like the contingency language. I like it
I know.
up to that point.
I understand, but if you don't have the contingency, then you have to accept the 2017.
The contingency gives you the ability to negotiate and add back what was in the 2000.
All the contingency is, by my understanding, is simply the issue of the language change that happened in 2017 from 2012, in which, and I know, Councilor Ross, you have not had the opportunity to look at this stuff that the mayor presented to us. I assume you have not.
I've read it.
It is pretty straightforward changes, but they're significant. And the real changes are in the language of what is the contract wording. And there is a significant difference. I mean, the mayor has pointed them out. He has taken a great deal of time. And I'm not going to try to go through them all, but just to get it, it is item B, the contractor shall publish. In 2012, the contractor shall keep a log. These are just issues. The complaint log submitted to, these are contractual issues, not substantive issues, as I see it. But if you don't put the contingency, then you may as well not even talk about any of these. And this is, the contingency is, I understand it, it's simply to give us the ability to further discuss the language of the contract, not to change the acceptance of the material amount of the contract. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
I'm looking at you, Dana.
Yes, I'm aware. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
This is just, we would, of course, like to see what the mayor will send us,
Yeah.
and we will review it, and,
And if we can't come to a contract, then that contingency means we haven't agreed to a contract because we can never finish negotiations substantially to both of our acceptance.
correct.
That's what it means. Yes, Your Honor.
Can I say something?
You can say anything you want, sir.
This is only a suggestion,
Thank you, sir.
since I do not vote.
Thank you, sir.
Motion to accept the 2% increase with no CPI, with agreement to bring CPI up in the future contingent on new terms of the 2017 contract.
I think that's pretty much what we said, other than
No.
naming the 2017 contract. And you can't, we already have a motion on the floor. We'd have to either withdraw it.
That, what you said, the way that you worded it,
I
Was
worded
you-
it like he did it. I just echoed what he said.
let me finish, please. The way that you said it is you accepted the 2017
No,
contract.
not this time I didn't, Jerry.
The second time she did not. Yes, sir.
I did not the second time.
She made a motion.
Yeah.
Yes.
I seconded it.
Yeah.
That's correct.
I interpreted her motion and my second to be exactly what you're saying now. Different language, but the same thing. Then she made a motion that there was no second to it, and it failed. A moment ago, when you stated the same thing basically that he just read, she said, so moved, and I said, second.
Right, so we have a motion on the
So
floor.
there should be a motion on the table for what he basically has and the same thing.
Vote on it.
I'm trying to.
Well,
I'll be frank, I'm just trying to convince Mr. Ross to.
Just call for a vote.
I have called for a vote a number of times, Your Honor.
It's
Please
okay.
let me
You
conduct.
can vote in
Please.
favor too, Charles, and it
Huh?
will be fine.
Pardon me?
You can vote in favor as well. You can change your mind.
On that worded, yes.
On that word, you can
Yes.
change your mind too. It's
You're
so-
right,
so-
and I will, to move
And
this
so can
meeting forward.
Councilman Rogers.
So we've got a motion on the floor, we have a second. All those in favor of accepting the language of the proposal based upon a contract negotiation being acceptable? Is that what the motion is?
Contingent on.
Okay, considered. Sir?
That sounds good enough.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody who is not acceptable to this, please say aye.
Something. Dear Lord.
Did I hear something?
No, I just said say something.
So all members of this council has voted on the motion.
Yep.
You mediated us all in the right direction, Charles. I can't believe it.
The motion is passed unanimously by this council. You do understand this is contingent upon us being able to negotiate a contract that is acceptable to both parties.
Who's gonna write it?
Yes, sir.
We're not even going there tonight.
I understand completely.
We have an agreement. We will deal with who's gonna write the contract at a later meeting,
Fine,
because we're not in a hurry to write it,
that's,
right?
that's right,
Okay.
that's right.
Are you okay with your
Mr. Cobra, do
extension?
you have any issues with what I just did?
Do we still need an extension?
He's playing solitaire.
I need alcohol. I need alcohol too.
I have many issues with what you said. I don't have any legal issues.
Oh, good.
Okay, that works for me, sir.
You do need to,
Move the extension.
you need to have some formal agreement that you are still under a month-to-month. This contingency really is nothing. You could have simply said, I agree to continue negotiation under those terms, please bring us back a formal proposal. But nonetheless, you didn't.
I
But
didn't.
You
I tried.
you still need to somewhat ratify that you're under a month-to-month, for infinite period at this point.
And, Mr. President, I also want to point out, late today, I apologize, I sent a written one-page addendum that reflects the extension to October 31st for him to review. It was late in the day, so I don't expect that he's probably looked at it yet.
That's inexcusable.
Well,
Okay, so we have that extension in writing. Our city attorney will get it when he can,
Or move to the next meeting.
and we can deal with that the next meeting, Mrs. Wright. And I can put this thing away.
thank you, counsel.
Oh, my lord. Be careful going home.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Mr. President, well, we're talking trash.
Yeah. Oh.
You're not starting on Priuses, are you?
That was
Do we need to continue the notice on the bill not to recycle or not?
Oh.
Yes, we need to not continue that, because we are told by our county that they are still trying to recycle, and I agree with Mrs. Miller, and when she suggests that when you stop people from doing it, trying to get them to start back is hard. If they're not, there's no law
But
that
they get
says
even
they have
better
to.
when it's not picked up. When you tell them to put it in the trash, it at least gets picked up.
But it's getting picked up in the blue bin.
If they leave it out for 2 or 3 days.
Well, it's still getting picked up.
We are picking it up.
Yeah.
It's getting picked up. The
Well,
issue
maybe they need
is,
to know to put it out on Thursday now instead of Wednesday.
I'm still putting mine out on Wednesday.
Okay, so just leave it.
And if they don't pick it up, I'm calling Tripp and saying, why didn't they come and get my recycling? As I have been doing for a long time. And Tripp will say, we're coming back to get it as soon as I can, and I said, fine.
Yeah.
But-
Come back.
Will that change? We will continue to
My neighbors are putting
not
their trash.
have. That's fine. And the thing is, there is no law that puts you in prison if you don't use recycling.
I realize that.
Okay. Moving ahead.
Mr. President, real
Yes.
quick, I cannot attend the first Tuesday's meetings of the month, because I have my own city council meeting, so it'll be, if you have questions, please ask me outside of during the day, and I'll be happy to send them to Ms. Miller,
Okay,
but I just personally won't be able to attend.
I understand, sir.
So, thank you, sir.
All right.
In case y'all didn't know, he is the mayor of Fanning Springs.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're a city council member in Newberry? Alachua, okay. So they're used to these crazy names. Bless your heart.
And we forgive you both.
Bless your heart.
Thank you.
Thank you. Be careful going home.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
All right.
See you next month.
Item D. Let me see if I can find my spot after all of that. Yes, item D, Resolution 2020-37, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Williston, Levy County, Florida, reconciling the terms and appointees to the Board of Adjustment and Code Enforcement in accordance with Code Ordinances, City of Williston, Florida, providing for a conflict and providing for an effective date. Mrs. Gorman.
Yes, sir. This came from the last meeting where you asked us to go back and get terms established. Working with our city attorney, he did draft this, and we feel like it's a good document. We recommend moving forward with these terms.
Okay. Does everyone remember what this was about? We were trying to get back to, which has fallen by the wayside, a staggered board appointee so that the boards did not empty totally at one time. Do I have a motion for Resolution 2020-43?
I move resolution 2020-43. Oh, and you've already read it. No,
Yes.
it's not 43, it's not.
2020-37.
30 says 43, but it's
I
not
did.
43, it's 37. 2020-37.
Oop, I already went down. I was so sure it was gonna pass. 2020-37.
2020-37.
Thank you for that. A motion was made by Councilor Jones. It was seconded by Vice President Head. All those in favor of passing Resolution 2020-37 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any who are opposed signify the same. Mrs. Wright, let it be recorded that all 5 members of the council approved this resolution.
Thank you.
Item A, under new business, Resolution 2020-43, a resolution of the City Council approving staff to complete a grant application package with the Southwest Florida Water Management District for the John Henry Park Stormwater Improvements. Options B project and approving the associated 25% match as required as part of the grant application. Mr. Zamowski, or would you like Mr. Wright to do this? I'm sorry, Mr. Davis.
Yes, I would like Dennis Davis, right here,
He's
to
around here
present this.
someplace. We call him the right Davis.
Good evening, council members. What I've brought before you tonight is an agenda item, and let me bear with me 1 second while I get it here. We have a presentation, if we can bring that up. So, well, my computer just died on me, I'm sorry, but we have a presentation tonight to talk about the John Henry Park Stormwater project. I wanted to start off by giving you a little bit of a timeline, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna take this and move to where I can
Come right around here.
Thank you.
Stand by the flag.
All right, we'll do that. So I wanted to give everybody a little bit of history about what has happened from a stormwater side here at the city. So back at when I was with my last company, I was here at City Hall one day, and I was talking with the person that was formerly in Jackie's position, Adam Hall, and we were talking about some flooding that was happening around town. And I mentioned to Adam that there was an opportunity to get some funding from the Southwest Florida Water Management District to do a watershed management plan. And that application was due in October, and we were in October when that happened, and we helped Adam put that application together real quickly, and it was approved. Back in 2015 then, the City Council approved $87,500 match with the Southwest Florida Water Management District, and then the Swift Mud threw in $262,500 to complete that study. As part of that, from 2017 through 2019, my previous firm worked on that study. In 2007, the first part of that study was completed. It was called a floodplain analysis report. And basically that looked at flooding conditions throughout the city. In 2008 and 18, two more parts of the report were completed. There was a surface water assessment and a level of service analysis. All of those documents were completed. And then in March of 2019, the final piece of the puzzle was completed. And that was the best management practices alternatives analysis. That project, or that last report, which was done in March of 2019, really outlines the projects that need to be implemented that can alleviate the flooding throughout the city. If you can move to the next slide, Ms. Ray. So just a little bit about what's in the alternatives analysis report. This report identifies a total of 8 projects that can be implemented to reduce flooding throughout the town. 3 of those projects will also improve water quality. The cost of all 8 of the projects is between $3.06 million and essentially $4 million. The range in there is because a couple of the projects have an alternative. There's one way or the other, but that's kind of the bracket of those 8 projects. The good thing about all of these projects is that because they were identified as part of a water management district project, they are eligible for water management district funding. And because we're a ready community, they will provide us 75% of grant, and we have to come up with 25% of match. So for this, out of this project, or out of this report, the plan presented 2 options for dealing with the flooding around John Henry Park. And I'm sure the council all is aware of the severe flooding that we'll get down in that area. We've had a number of cars that have been destroyed from the flooding. Obviously, with the old folks home right next door there, we've got a lot of issues with ingress and egress out of there. And so there were 2 options. One of them was budgeted at $963,000, the other option at $981,000. Ultimately, the city had selected to move forward with option B, and the city submitted a grant application to the FDOT last year for funding for that project. The FDOT denied the grant funding for that project. I was talking with Ms. Gorman at the time when that happened, and I said, well, hey, Swift Mud is an option here for funding. And again, we were almost right there in October, and so October of 2019, and so we had to rush pretty quickly to put together a grant application. Ms. Wright, if you would go to the next slide, please. Just a quick picture of the two projects. This was the option A for John Henry Park, and what you're seeing there is there are two stormwater ponds in this. That's the square shape or the rectangular shape on the left, and then the circular shape in the middle of the park. Those are going to be stormwater ponds, and then the lines and the dots are just pipelines that are going to carry the water to the north there to the existing rock pit that's up there. So this was option A. Again, this one had two stormwater ponds. It was going to require purchase of a piece of property right there on the left-hand side of the screen. If you go to the next slide.
And by the way, there's a house on that property now.
Right. So ultimately, this was the selected option that the city moved forward with. It didn't require the purchase of that other property, which, as Councilor Jones noted, now it would not be feasible. And so this is the project that's going to propose to be designed and constructed. Next slide. So, as I mentioned, in October of last year, we applied for a cooperative funding initiative grant through the Southwest Florida Water Management District to fund option B. The CFI program identified that we had to have a 25% match, as I mentioned, because we're a ready community. When we prepared that grant application, and as we had meetings with the Water Management District, we had talked about the city actually building this project, and so that would be our 25% match. There was still a lot of materials that would have had to have been bought, and there would have been some things that CJ would have needed a contractor to do, like some paving work and whatnot. Anyway, so with that, we moved forward with the thought process of having the 25% match be in-kind services provided by the city. The project was approved by the Swift Mud staff and then the other committees that it goes through, and it was officially approved in June of this year. And we were going forward and filling out the paperwork at the end of last month. They wanted to have the contract in place on October 1st so they could get the money rolling and we could get this project rolling right away. As we were going through that process, we had a new project manager on the Water Management District side, and they threw up a red flag and they said, wait, our 25% match cannot be in-kind services. And so that really kind of threw a wrench into things. Ms. Gorman and I were having a conversation at the last board meeting we had. That morning we had a conversation with Swift Mud when they notified us of this issue. So we've really been trying to scramble to try to figure out what was the best option for us to move forward. Ultimately, we went through a number of different scenarios, and what we think that the best option is for the city to actually put together the 25% match, pay that in, not in-kind services, but actually a cash match. So for fiscal year 21, that would mean the city would have to come up with $100,000, and for fiscal year 22, $140,750. So that would be the match, the 25% match in each of those two fiscal years. As I mentioned, we looked at a number of different options, but really, at the end of the day, we think this is probably the best option. So understanding that there you know, in the budget season, we're getting ready to, things are tight. We wanted to bring this to your attention to get some direction on how to move forward. Ms. Gorman?
Yes, so, not to lose sight of the fact that we're in a grant cycle right now. If we don't commit to this, we're gonna lose their contribution. This project, is $963,000 estimated. So our share is very small part for such a very large, stormwater project, an issue that we have.
Yeah.
So, understanding that we can't do anything with that park until this is done. We still have issues with the water rising so quickly on that ACLF and the damage it does to the surrounding neighbors. We've got to do this. If we don't meet this deadline, we're gonna lose their share. That's our concern. They're putting a lot of money into this. So if we miss this cycle, we have to start all over again.
How much money have we put into this so far?
We haven't really put anything in except,
Nothing.
the study that was done identifying all of our projects, but
The study is not free.
Well, the study was completed, you know, the funding was
Years ago.
appropriated for that back in 2015.
Different funding.
It was $82,000 roughly by the city, $260,000 roughly by Swiftmud.
So the city has.
We have an investment.
Put $82,000 into the project already.
Well, it wasn't just for this, it was a total study of all the stormwater issues throughout the city. In this grant application process, the city has not spent any money. Roy Pierce has done that work pro bono, as part of our, you know, just my services of working with the city. As Ms. Gorman said, you know, doesn't mean if we decide not to do it this year, it doesn't mean that this project goes away and you're never going to be able to do it. However, we're just going to have to go back through the application process again and hopefully come up with it again next year. I mean, it's a competitive process. If we drop out of it this year, we're competing against a new set of projects next year. So, you know, there's always a chance that maybe you don't get approved next year, but.
So CJ, pull this microphone out of the hole. CJ.
We just wanted to also let the council know that generally the stormwater would fall into a general fund project, not a utility project. However, there are needed upgrades in those areas that do not qualify for CDBG or anything like that. So, we could combine portions of that, you know, new water main installation where it's just service lines now, new sewer lines, you know, same aspect there. There are service lines that have been turned into mains that actually need to be upgraded and replaced. So it's just an option out there that some of the funds could be used out of the utility fund because you will essentially have to use those anyway to provide the utility upgrades.
Yes, we did talk with Mr. Bloom ahead of this meeting tonight about that, and he chimed in that, right, that if we could tie this back to the utility needs, that we could use some of the funds out of the utilities.
And if I can add to that, once this project's complete, we can move forward with the splash park. And I hear about the splash park all the
Well, it
time.
sounds to me like we've got a splash park in the making.
We do, truly, a little bit more than that, actually.
$900,000 splash park.
Yeah, and I would just add, I mean, beyond this, I mean, obviously this is, you know, this is a pressing need, I think, for the city, but you know, in the vein of workshops or presentations on this, I don't know if you all have been given a detailed presentation of this report and the 8 projects that are in here, but I do think that, you know, it would be wise for us as the city to think about this and start planning these out. The funding is there to help us with this, and so I really think that we need to get this kind of in our plans, you know, long term, so that we can be thinking about funding these projects over multiple years.
I agree. Okay, so what are the mountains?
Yes, I'm done. I think the last slide on here, Ms. Wright, is just the request that's in the package there, that you should approve moving forward with this.
So this resolution is approving staff to complete grant application package. That means that we have to agree to come up with the money to complete grant application package, correct?
That's right. The
Nothing
grant,
else matters if we can't come up with a reasonable way to do this.
that's right. The grant has been approved. The Water Management District is now wanting us to fill out some final paperwork so that they can get their contract with the city ready. Part of that contract is gonna say that, yes, City of Williston, you're gonna fund 25% of this at a tune of $100,000 in fiscal year '21 and $140,000 in change in fiscal year '22. So, right, by agreeing to move forward, that means that you're gonna have to agree to that, that matching funds.
Okay.
In order to get $963,000.
Almost $1 million.
Yeah, almost $1 million, I mean.
And this from a city that couldn't get doors or a fire department.
Hey, we got a grant for this. We gotta get a grant for the doors.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, does everyone understand the issue? Bear in mind, if we're going to do this, we have to come up with a means to pay for it. So it's not just saying, yes, we're going to do this, how are you going to do it?
Well, we authorized Mr. Bloom to help us find it.
Right.
Jackie, you look like a woman that has something to say.
Well, I do. Again, what CJ said is, part of this is, we have, areas where there's gonna be conflict with utilities. There is a utility element to that, we just have to get it costed out. So we can understand how much come from utility and how much won't, so, from another funding source. So we'll bring that back to you once we have some more information.
Do we have a timeline on the acceptance of this proposal?
Yeah,
Mr.
we
Davis?
do.
We have to have, the final paperwork back to SwiftMud, at the end of this month.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
At the end of August?
That's correct.
Cool, so we're talking tonight.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, their original request was to have, this initial paperwork back by August 14th. Obviously that, when we found out about this and it just wasn't gonna be possible, I've had conversations with them, and that was an internal deadline that they set, and I said, okay, well, what is the drop dead deadline on this? And, it's essentially 9/1, they have to have everything back, so.
So, CJ, Jackie,
I hate to pass up that.
you two have both said here in the council meeting that a portion can come, you've got no idea what this portion is, right?
We do not. At this point, we know with this project, we will have at least, one section of road paved, another partial portion of road paved, so anything that we were setting aside for, road resurfacing for that period of time could be used to, fund portions of this project. The sewer main, I think it would fund probably in the vicinity of around 50,000 for that. Water line would be probably a little bit more than that.
So you're saying that
You've got it.
it's possible that you could get $125,000 out of the utility fund related to this project?
At a minimum, yes.
At a minimum?
At a minimum,
You
yes.
only need 100.
No, that's
It's 250,000.
This year, I know that's for this year, for this year.
This year, then we have to worry about next
Yeah.
year.
Oh, so we just kick that can down the road?
Well, and some of that, I know Councilwoman Jones has seen this before, as she lives in that neighborhood, but I have literally seen the stormwater down there. where entire vehicles were underwater. It was level with the front porch of the nursing home, all the way just about to Fifth Street.
And it comes on just like that,
Yes.
it comes down
And
the
it has
hill.
done that twice since I've been here. The
Yeah.
city had to go down and pull vehicles out from under there with the backhoes because the, water didn't recede for quite some time.
Did we add to this when we did the work and rerouted the water that was causing certain residents a great deal of issues up on, by Heritage Park, businesses? Remember, we
No,
had standing
no,
water
this
issues?
does not tie into that. That actually runs one block over from that.
Yeah, I just wondered if the water was coming two ways, or is it all coming down?
Coming down the hill.
A lot of the stormwater that comes from that area unfortunately comes off of DOT. However, they won't give us any funding. We have applied for SCOP grants for that, on 4 different occasions. They have turned us down every time.
By DOT, you mean it's coming off of 27A?
Correct. All the stormwater on the west side of Main Street on Noble Avenue runs to the, rock pit that is down at the tennis courts. Unfortunately, all of the storm drain system that is currently in there that runs down First Avenue and a portion of Second Avenue flows into the same stormwater pipe. And then there is a 24-inch pipe that runs from John Henry Park through a tree line there. It was slated to be changed probably 12 to 15 years ago. There was funding set aside for it, but it never happened because there were too many oak trees that would be infringed upon that are between a small right-of-way that runs between 2 homes.
Okay. How confident are we that this money can be done, this project can be done with this amount of money? Are we going to get into this project and suddenly find out that the $900-some-odd-thousand isn't enough and we have to continue to put more money into it?
I feel pretty confident, and I think if it came up that there were some issues, I think we could talk again about the city digging the pond or something like that to mitigate that cost. But I feel pretty confident about the cost estimate right now.
Yes, sir.
I'm just letting y'all know.
You need to stand up before the microphone. Mr. Davis, please give him 6 foot distance.
I'm Joe Penny, I guess, what was it, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, DJ? I lost about $30,000 of my stuff in my backyard because of the runoff going in my backyard.
We remember that.
I just let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, if I may also, we have new homes going in down there, so it's just adding to it, and in the long run, this is gonna be a great benefit for those vacant lots down there to start getting into, once we start getting this stormwater straightened, taken care of.
One option that can be considered, obviously not here tonight, but even, as soon as for the next fiscal year, is a stormwater fund. Many cities have a small stormwater utility that, you can charge. A lot of places have complex ways of figuring it out based off of the impervious area on your lot. But, I mean, even if you were to throw, a $10, an annual $10 utility stormwater fee, it can be used to help fund these types of projects. So that's something that can be considered, moving into, this next fiscal year. And
In raise, you're saying we could raise taxes?
I'm saying that the residents can pay yes, what, the fair share of projects that are needed for the city.
Okay. So we have a resolution before us. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve resolution 2020-43. Want me to read the resolution?
I believe I already didn't I?
I believe you did,
Yes.
if I remember correctly. I second the motion.
I have a motion by Councilor Robinson to approve resolution 2020-43. It was seconded by Councilor Jones. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify the same. Aye. I think it's a wish list. I am outvoted 4-1. Mrs. Wright, please note that in the record. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Item B, discussion with possible action, Levy County Fair dissolution, requesting the city of Williston distribute any remaining funds. We could use those for the stormwater. From the Levy County Fair Association, Amanda, I wanna go on record to say, we're sorry to see it happen, but it's been coming for a while.
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Just for the record, my name is Amanda Cuomo, C-U-O-M-O is my last name. We have been trying to dissolve the Levy County Fair for almost a year now. The state has sent back another request, and now found an amendment. We sent this in, earlier. And instead of writing the checks out to organizations within Levy County, they're now requesting per section 610.07, in the dissolution for the U.S. Department of Ag for fair associations, we have to write one check to a municipality or a county. And then that municipality or county can distribute the funds per our request, if you accept them. Our bank account currently sits at $58,130.91. And the Levy County Fair Association has projected to give those funds as follows: to Beauty Havens Farm, $2,000, Tri-County Pregnancy Center, $6,000, Levy County FFAs, the Williston Chapter, $2,500, the Bronson FFA Alumni Chapter, $2,500, the Chiefland FFA Alumni, $2,500, the Cedar Key FFA Alumni, $2,500, the University of Florida Levy County Extension Office, 4-H organizations, Outdoor Adventures, $2,005, Animal Adventures, $846.15, Bit of Both, $846.15, Creekside Christian, $846.15, Country Bumpkins, $846.15, Country Kids, $846.15, Levy Renegades, $846.15, Shooting Stars, $846.15, Short Term and Summer Spin, $846.15, Week Iver Run, $846.15, Whispering Winds, $846.15, Williston Central, $846.15, Williston Wranglers, $846.15, and Yankee Sandmats, $846.15. If any of those clubs do not renew, since this has taken so long, that money will just go to the University of Florida Levy County Extension. Swanee River Fair and Livestock Association, $6,000. Williston Animal Group, $6,000. Tomorrow Equestrian Center Incorporated, $2,000. Levy Association for Retarded Citizens, $1,000. Williston Community Animal Shelter Incorporated, $6,000. The Williston JROTC, that will need to be written to the Levy County Public School Foundation, $2,000. And the remaining balance of $4,130.91 will go to the Williston Community Food Bank. That is how we wish to have the funds allocated, and we just need the approval from the city to take on distributing those funds.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
You're saying that the city has to distribute them?
Yes, sir.
Or the city has to incur expenses? I've lost track of how many, there were some worthwhile projects, but the city is going to have to incur the expenses to distribute the money?
I don't know what expenses would be, other than writing the checks.
Or what about the labor of the city staff and things like that?
Yes, sir, I guess that would be taken on.
Time?
Our request is, because we are a non-for-profit organization, and all of these organizations under us are non-for-profit organizations, and they all donated their time to the Levy County Fair for years. All these organizations listed on here, and that's why they were chosen and why we wanted to get the funds to them.
And I am not questioning any of that. I just want to understand. In fact, the city of Williston, worthwhile project, terrible issue, sorry it's happening, but in fact, there will be an expense to the city of Williston to oversee all this distribution. you're not going to do it,
I'll
right?
give you $20, Charles.
Say that again.
I'll give you $20.
I don't want to.
It couldn't be much
I'm
more
all
than that.
for this.
I'll come in
But
here
I
hard
just-
today.
I can tell you
Okay.
that their
Okay.
association trusted the city of Williston a lot more than we trusted the county. That's why we're here.
Okay, I'm all for this. I'm not trying to be difficult. But if we have two counselors, city manager Schroeder, that have volunteered to spend their time to come, so we don't have to
can do that.
spend our precious.
I can write a check. I
workers.
can too.
Is that any reason that they can't do that?
I don't see why not.
I don't see a reason why not, as long as the two counselors are willing to spend their time. I think it's wonderful. You know, I can't even begin to.
And if you don't want to mail them, I'll be glad to deliver them.
I'm sure they'd be happy to come pick them up.
All I wanted to know was the mechanism, because we're committing city staff to do a job.
Yes, sir.
And an expense.
Yes.
And now we no longer have city staff doing it because we have two counselors that is willing to
If you
take
put a
all
check
the
in front of me, I'd be glad to do it.
Mr. Goodman, if I can, I think once we get the check from them, just run it through Infomart when they cut the regular checks, and you just have to sign it.
I like the other idea of these two doing it, so.
Well,
I don't
probably.
think they're gonna put a check
I got
in
no
front of me.
issue with it. So this
Can I do
is
it?
a discussion with possible action. There is no resolution.
If you accept it, we'll present it to you. The resolution actually goes to the city, goes to the state. I will say one thing, once you accept the responsibility that you will do this, we have to send it back to the state. And the state has to approve it.
Right.
Then you get a check
Right.
for distribution.
Oh, so the check goes to the state and the state.
No.
No, so we'll send, if you approve, we'll send tonight's, minutes along with our plan to the state. We initially sent it to distribute the checks ourselves.
Okay.
And they said that can't happen, it has to go through one entity, and it has to be a municipality.
I have no issues with it.
So then we'll send it to the state.
You don't have a resolution, so all you'll have is minutes.
Yes, sir. As long as the city is agreeing to distribute the funds as we asked, that's all we need to prove to the state that you're willing to take that on.
Okay.
It also has to go to the clerk of the court's office, and the clerk of the court has to sign off on it. Then it comes back.
That means we have to pay for that too.
No.
No, we're paying for that,
We'll
sir.
pay for all that. Oh, my
Okay.
goodness.
Okay.
Yes, we'll pay for any fees that incur with the
So
court.
since this is, with possible action, there is not a resolution, can we agree that we're willing to do this
By consensus.
by consensus, as the mayor said? Is there anybody not willing to do this? I'm gonna be real quiet, Councilor Jones. Okay. Okay.
All
The
right.
city of Williston reluctantly will help you.
No, we don't have
Reluctantly
that.
will
Yes,
help you
yes,
resolve
reluctantly.
the Levy County Fair because we are missing it being here.
The Levy County Fair
Well, you can see it wasn't.
appreciates your.
It wasn't a matter of money, it was a matter of volunteers.
It was. It's a sad day for
I know.
everyone.
It's a sad day for us all.
But it is a great day for the organizations that are gonna benefit from this. And a lot of children are gonna benefit from this, so.
And that was our mission, children, agriculture, and
Yes.
education. That's why we chose the mission we did.
And I understood one of those was the Williston Animal Shelter group trying to build a new animal shelter for the horrific conditions that we are currently keeping our animals.
Yes, sir.
We actually waited, they were the last group, we waited on their 501c3 number 4.
To add them in.
Before we filed it with the state the first time, we waited for them.
Okay. Well, I think it's wonderful, but I still say reluctantly because I'm sad to see that the
Yes, sir, I am as well.
We are.
A lot of young, people really love going to that. I know that people love being there.
I know he loves that event every year.
President Goodman,
Yes,
did I hear a motion and a second?
we don't have a
Wait, it's just a
resolution. What you
discussion.
heard was a consensus.
Even though you don't have a resolution, you should still have a motion and a
Okay.
second for a formal
Looking
action.
for a motion.
Make a motion with the dissolution of the Levy County Fair Association by distributing their remaining funds
Second.
as presented.
Motion was made by Vice President Head, it was seconded by Councilor Ross. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Everybody is in favor, this is right. There was a motion. Now, because I've been corrected by the council, and I can live with that.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for
Thank
coming.
you, Amanda.
Item C, this is I have to see what time. It is 10 minutes to.
It's time to go on to sleep.
Let's go.
You want a motion right now?
This is the first public meeting of ordinance 685, first reading, an ordinance of the city of Williston amending chapter 38 traffic and vehicle sections 38 through 31, establishment of fire lanes and no parking zones, parking prohibited, enforcement and penalties to include time limits on certain streets and certain public parking lots, providing severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date. Is there any discussion on this ordinance?
If you will, Mr. President, I pushed forward after many complaints the mayor has received them about the lack of parking in the area of the post office. And I also received a complaint from the lady who runs the beauty shop behind the Ivy House on the north side of the post office. We have basically employees taking up all the parking around the post office and in front of the beauty shop. The young lady who runs the beauty shop is actually having her clients, the elderly clients, park in front of City Hall, call her, she picks them up and shovels them back in the car.
Okay.
Some of these cars are parking 6 and 8 hours, and CJ and I have discussed that you actually have some postal vehicles that they drive their personal car into work, park it, get in their Jeep or postal vehicle, take it all day, bring it back, and leave the Jeep in the parking lot. Some of the parking lots our spots are occupied 24 hours a day.
Okay.
On the north side of Heritage Park on Northwest Main, there's some residents that have, when CJ redesigned the park, there's parking areas, and some of these parking areas are actually personal parking lots for residents who live up there, which is greatly restricting the accessibility of these spots to citizens visiting either the post office or Heritage Park.
Okay. Is everybody aware of the issues surrounding this ordinance?
Yeah, you're gonna have to tell me a little better exactly where it is. I can see right now, we're gonna have everybody down here.
It's laid out in there.
Yeah.
It's
very
on Northwest
Well,
First
I
Street,
see that it is. I have no problem with the post office.
and they will be posted.
I know that, but tell me where on Northwest Main.
Northwest Main, you know, the parking areas
Yep.
on the new section of Heritage Park, those will be posted.
You're gonna post the parking areas, not the street.
Just the parking areas.
What about where the people are parking in the middle of the street?
That really hasn't been a problem yet, but where we have because you still have a flow of traffic. Where we're having a problem is that the new parking areas have become private parking lots for people. And some of these cars never move.
I'd rather they park in the parking lot than in the street.
Well, the problem is that they were doing both.
So you're not talking about both sides of the street, you're only talking about the parking lot.
On the city parking lots.
On the city, where the parking area is.
Are you gonna post every spot?
Yes,
Yeah, see, I got a little bit of issue. And when you say the east side of the post office, you mean behind City Hall?
so on the Northwest First Street, between the post office and Dixie's, that parking area.
Isn't that the west side of the post office?
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry, west side of the post
Well,
office.
it says east, that's why
We
I'm
need to
confused.
change the west side of the
I do
post
know
office,
east from west.
and the north side of the post office, all the way up to northwest Maine.
Okay,
And then, well, I was looking at the,
which means the city hall's parking area too,
on
all the way
Main
up that street.
The city employees are actually parking, in the main parking lot.
Out here,
Yes, ma'am.
on the backside,
Yes,
which is okay, right?
yes.
You're not gonna restrict any of these up here?
No. What we're trying to do is keep the parking area open for the post office clients.
Right.
We actually have some business people that ride by to see if they can get a parking space. And you know that, so these cars are long-term, when you ride by and they actually have the windshield protectors up.
Yeah.
So they're not
Right.
going anywhere. And the young lady who runs the beauty shop actually tries to get there early to save spots for her elderly clients.
Right.
And when they get ready, I'm showing up, then she moves her car.
So how are you gonna get the post office to move their vehicle?
Well, there's parking that they can use, and they can also park in the city hall parking lot.
Because you're right, I've seen those vehicles there.
And see, like, if you go to any shopping malls, for instance, if you ever go to the Oaks Mall, the Patrick
sure.
Mall,
They park
there's a
there.
line across there, and you don't park on that line. And there's also parking, I'm sure they can use on the south side of the park.
Whoa, are you okay?
Yeah. So that's, it's just a, you know, a concern from, and the mayor and I have been dealing with this for 6 or 8 months with complaints about the whole thing.
Okay?
I don't know, I'm not sure.
All we can do is,
Can we do a few at a time instead of all of them at once?
Well, we can, but if we're gonna do it, I'll suggest let's do Northwest First Street and Northwest, First Avenue.
Right, I don't have any problem with those. And if the other ones, see, the other ones don't say the parking areas, it actually says Northwest Main Street.
But it would be, that areas, it would.
See, I thought you meant the street, it doesn't say anything about parking lots on that one.
Maybe we need to clarify, but it'd actually be the parking areas, and it'd be assigned no parking, you know, with areas between the no parking signs.
Can we clarify that in here, that you mean parking lots and not the street itself?
Sure.
That makes me feel a little better about it, y'all know what I'm talking about?
Jackie? Jackie.
but the ordinance says it one way, so if we get a motion, we have to
That's what I'm
have
saying.
the ordinance rewritten.
Well, that's what I'm asking, how do
Yeah.
y'all feel about changing that?
How do I feel? I
So that
think,
it specifically says the parking lots and not,
If I may, I'll add an exhibit and put a map on there, to just approve first reading subject to a map for clarity. I can do that, and we can just go forward with advertising.
yeah, this is first reading, we can make changes for second
Right,
reading.
I'll just add an exhibit and put a map, so we're very
Okay.
clear on where they're gonna be. Is that okay?
yes, ma'am.
I had the same concern, that was my big issue, you're talking about parking up and down the street that people use.
Right,
for the business.
for the well, even for the residents,
Residents,
just on,
Well, there's some of them, like say the residents, you ride by in the same cars there day after day, and it never moves. And they're now up to 4 cars on the northwest lane, but,
Okay, so we just need some clarification.
I'll do it for the next one.
thank you.
Okay, so we have an ordinance, first reading before us. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 685. Map to clarify.
second,
Motion was made by Vice President Head, it was seconded by Councilor Jones. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any who is opposed signify the same. Ordinance 685 was approved by all 5 members of the council.
Thank you.
Ordinance, we're continuing the public meeting for ordinance 687. First reading, an ordinance of the city of Williston, Florida, chapter 6, alcoholic beverages, section 6, 2 definitions, and section 6.6 clarifying the sale of alcohol within 300 feet of a church, schools, child care facilities, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date. City Manager Strode.
Interim City Manager.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
This is kind of clarifying or cleaning up the language when the council redone the or rewrote the alcohol policy for on-site consumption, where restaurants would be allowed.
That's correct.
This came up as, when Sheriff Pizza went to expand, and Jackie is intimately familiar with it. I can get you to explain it.
Yes, we get a lot of inquiries for, the sale of beer and wine, and as you know, we have a lot of, churches in our town, so, there's a little bit of confusion as to how the code, it gets read. What it says in our code is, if you're within, 300 foot of a church or a child care, daycare facility, you can have beer and wine provided you have food. That's the intent, I believe.
That was the intent.
That I sent to all of you the minutes. But that's not quite how our code reads, and I just need to tighten it up a little because the State Beverage Department gives 2 licenses. They do an SRX, which now has another name, but for all intents and purposes, it's SRX, which means you have to have like 2,400 square foot of floor area, so many tables, and 50% of your gross sales has got to come from non-alcoholic beverages and food. We very seldom have any building of that size. But it also says, or any other license that might have 50% sales. Now, the state has 2, the SRX, and the other one's a 2 COP. So they bring me an application for a 2 COP. I'm saying they can have a bar.
Consumption on premises, by the way.
Yes. So I'm saying, if I sign that, I'm telling them they can have a bar. And that's not your intent. So what I want to do is go back into this code and say, your main purpose, even though it's not a SRX, it's a 2 COP, your main purpose has to remain restaurant. That has to be on your business tax receipt, that you are a restaurant. And your gross sales has still got to be 50% or more for food and non-alcoholic beverages. So that way, they can't just say, oh, restaurant's not working, we're just going to keep it a bar. And then if we say you can't do it, they're going to say, well, you signed it, saying the zoning was okay. So it's tough for me to be able to defend anything like that unless I go back to the code and say, nope, I'm doing exactly what the code says. So when I review these alcohol licenses, it's very clear under what conditions you can have them, okay? And I think in the past there's been some already done, which has caused a little bit of, why are you making me do it, not everybody else? Well, because I didn't read it that way. I didn't read it the same way. In other words, whoever signed that license didn't understand the criteria in the back, and I just want to make sure we're good. We don't get challenged by any church and get us in any kind of trouble. So that's where we're at. I don't know, Brett, if you want to add to that or not, but.
No.
Okay. Anyway, I'm just trying to protect the city, and I think.
If Brett's going to add to it, we're going to take a 20-minute break.
Well, the way the application came in, the last one was we're opening a bar, and I'm like, nope, can't do that.
No, I mean, I remember this. This whole thing happened over Pizza Hut.
Yeah, it did.
And there was, I've read the minutes that you provided us, and it was clear that what we were trying to say was, okay, this isn't working. If you are a restaurant and somebody wants to drink a beer with their meal, okay. And that's what we all agreed on. So, if we need, pardon me?
Sorry, he's got his hat.
I was hoping to get that hat. So, all this is cleaning up language?
Cleaning up language, making sure I've got, when I sign that application, they bring me that I'm doing the right thing.
Okay. Everybody understand this ordinance? Is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on this ordinance?
I looked up the 2 licenses, and once I looked them up, it was very clear, and I understand exactly what she's trying to do.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve ordinance 687. Second,
First reading.
first reading, yep.
We have a motion to approve ordinance 687, first reading. Do I have a second?
I seconded it.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
I did.
I'm sorry, we gotta separate you two. Okay, Counselor Robinson made the motion, it was seconded by Counselor Jones. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any who are opposed signify the same. Let the record show all members of the council approved ordinance 687, first reading. Item E, discussion with possible action, human resource director position brought by somebody that did not know it was gonna be 10 o'clock at night when we got to it. Okay, I have been in multiple discussions, and I'm gonna try to make this as simple for everybody as I can. We have a position of human resource director that was dropped on us. The former human HR person that the city created a separate position for just decided she didn't want to be here anymore. For whatever reasons, that's her right. In the interim, this fine young lady sitting back there smiling stepped into the breach once again, as she did with the chief of police in the police department, and she took on 2 jobs that were 2 different positions, and according to her supervisors, has done an excellent job of it. And it was suggested to me that she might be able to do the HR and save the city some money so that we can spend it on all these stormwater things you guys want to do. And so that would be, to be perfectly frank, because I have serious questions. Now she's doing 3 jobs. And I was concerned about overextending, but she's been doing it for a while. And from the reports that I have had, she's made vast improvements over what was in place when she came. Has got a streamlined process, has excelled in the duties that were assigned to her, and I had a discussion with her in which I asked specifically, do you think that you are able to do this as well as the other jobs that you were doing? And her answer was an unequivocal yes. Okay? So we have a position currently of human resource director. She feels, and I have been assured by several people, that this position in a community our size could be fulfilled part-time and doesn't need a full-time human resource director, okay? Fran Taylor, whether she did it well or not, is not the issue, but she was our HR person and our city clerk. So I would like the council to consider, first of all, she needs a raise. And her current salary is pretty low. And I would think that if she is going to be able to do this, and this is, as I understand it, this is a trial. Give her 6 months. After 6 months, we do evaluation. If she hasn't been able to fulfill all of these things, then we will go back to a different position. But she has indicated to me that she is willing to give it a trial for 6 months. The city needs to save the money. She says she can do the job. Her supervisor says she can do the job. So, I would like the council to consider giving me a motion to raise the acting human resource director position, increasing her salary to, pick a number, I would say $7,500 above what she is currently getting. We are currently, that position is advertised at $38,000, is that correct?
Yeah. I'm not sure.
It's $38,000
That's without benefits.
without benefits.
I mean, so you still have the benefits that would come
Oh, yeah.
on top of that.
Okay.
Mhm. So I have just in one fell swoop saved the city $30,000.
So the prior director, prior HR director.
Yes,
Is that about the salary that she was making?
that was
Or
the salary she was making.
Okay, because I know she was making quite a bit, so.
$38,000.
So you're asking to move her, oh,
No, I'm just, her current salary
okay,
is not a salary, she makes an hourly wage.
right,
I'm suggesting that we take that hourly wage and we make it a salary and increase that hourly salary to $7,500 more than she is currently making now.
okay. I'm looking down here. Is that okay with the chief?
Absolutely.
And does it meet wage an hour?
Well,
I'm asking about the attorney that meets wage an hour. Sorry.
My understanding, you're simply converting her to a salary.
From, hourly to salary. And
Yes.
she meets the criteria for salary.
she will be actually, one of the things that, if this
But
is
they're
approved,
specific.
is that I want to, right now, currently, the ladies who run the front desk, the service counter.
Yep,
They have no direct supervisor.
yep,
The way it was previously set up, the former city manager is they answer to the city manager.
yeah.
So should there be any disciplinary action under HR manual,
Yep.
the final grievance procedure is with the city manager. So they have nowhere to go in between. And to be honest with you, as the interim city manager, and I'm sure the next city manager, you have enough on your plate without supervising the front desk.
And there needs to be that intermediate step anyway.
Absolutely, and, Brooke has kind of stepped up to the plate, and when the previous one walked out, she left us high and dry with open enrollment and stuff, and of course, Brooke, just to her normal level of performance, has got everything set up.
Right.
She's actually been working at the front counter, she suggested some process improvement, and I think we're gonna see great things up there. So I'm excited about it, and I wholeheartedly agree with it.
Okay, that's what I needed to hear.
So what is Brooke's current title and responsibility?
Everything.
Yeah, we're adding to.
She'll be at everything.
She is
Good evidence.
currently the interim HR director.
But she's got two others, what are they?
My current job title is Executive Administrative Coordinator, and that came with the duties from everything that I do with the police and fire department.
See, actually, Brooke took over, in order to try to scale back, when the records clerk retired, Brooke took that job also. So with some moving around, we have Colleen Stevens, who's the dispatch supervisor, can kind of help pick up some of the stuff at the PD.
Right.
So she'll be like the interim or part-time or HR director for the city, and, you know, so she maybe wear dual hats. And I really don't see, although HR is a very important position, and fortunately, Captain Fortney, Brooke, interim chief of art, myself, just recently went to an HR school. Not knowing this was on the horizon. So we've had, all of us had recent training, and, I just think it's just a good move.
Well, I finish up my point. When we made the full-time position for HR, I think we were kind of in panic mode. We didn't have anybody. We didn't want the new city clerk to have to take that on, or the planner. So we kind of probably hurried into that. I don't think after it all panned out, was really a completely full-time position. It's always very important. I'm good with it as long as she doesn't mind going to the salary versus hourly.
You know, it's an outsider looking in, because I was on the other side of Noble, and was Pat on the half, if I turned over every day. And when you got over here, you got to see a whole different perspective. The manager is more than a full-time job, and so is the city clerk. And, you know, you can take somebody with Brooks' ability and, you know, take care of what's across the street and over here.
Sounds like he's really starting to love this position, doesn't
No,
it?
I'm not.
Okay, Your Honor.
How much time is gonna be spent at the PD and fire department versus the HR position? How is that gonna be broken down?
I actually think, and of course, right now, we're kind of in catch-up mode over here.
Right.
And a lot of things have not been done.
I totally understand that.
So I think maybe, Brooke, 75-25, 75 there, 25 here, or 50-50. What do you think? You're into it, I'm not.
I think when everything gets cleaned up, I think it's gonna be, I mean, you can spend a couple days every year and then spend a couple days over there. And like right now, I'm spending mornings over there and then afternoons over here, or vice versa, just trying to get things caught up and doing both things. So
Right now, it's like 50-50.
it's probably a little bit more over here than it is at the PD right now, but, you know,
But-
it's a mess, and that's
But
kind of
in
what
the
we're at.
future, you expect that to reverse?
Yes, sir, I absolutely do.
Okay.
One of the things Brooke found when she got here and got into the office, she found a stack of paperwork like that going back to 2017 that hadn't been filed. So,
Okay.
but let's catch up.
It is 10:15.
I'm concerned about your hourly,
Yes.
is she gonna make more on salary
Yes.
if the raise goes through that? And I'm,
Sure.
isn't there a minimum you have to make in order to be salaried?
I don't think it's,
I don't think there is.
With wage and hour, there's not, certainly would like to
She
see
is
more.
well above that minimum.
Not what I was told, but that, I don't know for sure. That's why I'm looking at the attorney, because I know he should know.
what would you like to know?
I thought it was a whole lot more than that, the minimum cap for being called salaried as opposed to hourly. I thought you had to there are certain criteria you had to meet, and I thought one of them was a salary cap. I'm just trying to, and actually that would get you more money.
It's a good question. I just thought, I know what the numbers were,
I might have it wrong, but.
and my experience in my business was that she is well above the cap that they required for being a salaried in the business that I had. Now,
Yeah.
maybe things have changed in the.
Well, I know where I worked, there were people who were salaried that they put on the clock because they weren't making that much.
Right.
And because they didn't make the minimum amount, they couldn't call them salary.
I don't think she's minimum amount, and I don't wanna,
$38,000 is not a whole lot.
I think a lot of it goes to how much time you spend as a worker versus supervisor. So if she's also a supervisor.
Okay, if she's gonna be the supervisor of that desk, I'm thrilled with that.
but the issue is, it's 38, but it's going to be $7,500 more than 38 if we do this.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that too.
Is everybody clear, sir?
Is that a motion?
I can't make a motion, I'm waiting for you to do
Oh, well, I
it.
don't know how to word it, but if somebody will make the motion, I'll second it.
You would like to make a motion that Brooke become a salaried employee, take in HR, and get a raise as a salaried employee to $7,500 more than she is currently making.
That's the motion I make, Patricia. You have it.
Yes.
So the question we're talking about is, you know, even reverting back to salary based on what her current pay is today, with her overtime rate, you know, she could be making, I don't know if it's gonna be either close to it or what. So once we convert her to salary, you know, she obviously will lose any
Won't make
ability.
any overtime.
Right. No,
Oh, you're getting overtime?
Well, she's currently out, yes.
Yes,
Hourly, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Before the chief came over here, there was one person that worked harder than me.
Yes.
So were you getting overtime prior to the HR role?
Yeah,
It's already taken more than 40 hours to do what you need to do. Now we're gonna add on something else.
it depends on how you really look at it. I mean, I look at it like that. I understand what you're saying, and overtime is not something that is all the time. I mean, we have special projects that go on that make me have overtime. It's not every 2 weeks I have overtime by any means.
So again, bringing back the question that we've asked twice, I think, are you gonna accept salary?
And that's what I'm trying to figure out, because salary wasn't even that wasn't even on my thought plane before.
So what would you prefer, to have a hourly rate increase over a salary guarantee?
The attorney's got his hand up too.
I will get to him as soon as I finish with her. Do you have any feelings?
I do, but I would like to think on it first.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Mr. Coberly.
An employee may be salaried, and they have to make a minimum amount in order for the employer to qualify them as exempt, which I believe is what Ms. Jones is referring to.
Yes.
And an exempt salaried employee is exempt from having to be paid overtime.
Right,
Correct.
exactly.
A salaried employee may still be paid overtime. And so I think that you need to make that distinction with
Really?
costs.
I never heard of such a thing.
I never heard of such a thing.
I didn't either.
It's not,
Yeah, I'm definitely saying exempt.
a salaried employee
What is that?
may be
minimum?
converted 40 hours into whatever their salary is. They may not be an exempt employee. For example, a non-essential employee who's on salary, getting full-time benefits and things, they may be converted to overtime when they work overtime. So, you need to make that distinction. Also, I think you need a little bit more information in that you may want to bring back what pay classification would the choice you make bump her into, so you could have all of that taken care of in one motion.
Out of curiosity, what is the exempt minimum cap?
I think it's 600 and something a week.
600 something a week, so how much is that a year? Oh, thank you very much.
What do you say, 35,000?
Yeah, so we're okay.
Yeah, I thought we were above that.
I'm
But-
fine bringing it back, what he said, but we maybe should consider like a $4 an hour raise, which is roughly $8,000 a year. She's gonna do so many special projects.
Would that be your preference, just to get a $4 an hour raise?
Yeah, it's over 7,500.
Are you giving her advice over there, assist?
Well,
She,
she is one of my employees.
I know, I'm just asking, You don't gotta get all the sensitivity,
I
just a
am
question.
until he or him gives me a dirty look, then I'm gonna quit.
Most of our special events are with the police department, that works.
Yeah.
That's where overtime goes.
You would rather have the raise,
The $4 an hour raise.
And stay,
hourly.
Okay.
stay hourly.
Life gets simple until TJ raises his hand.
TJ's got his hand up.
Where you go?
If she is not listed as an exempt employee, you have to advertise the position internally, because if she's an hourly employee, she's not exempt.
Speak into the microphone, 'cause I can't hear you.
Sorry. If she is an hourly employee, she is not exempt, and therefore falls under the, General Employees Union.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Unfortunately, I
I
hate
knew
to
that
say
union
it,
voice
but
was coming.
that's what it is, and when you're supervising, under the General Employees Union, as you're a supervisor, then you are classified as exempt.
You become exempt, yeah. So just give her a 4-hour raise and call her exempt.
I don't know, they're over there whispering. I just wanna give the woman
No,
more
you
money.
can't do that. You give her a $4 an hour and call her exempt, she can't get overtime. Is that what I heard?
That's what I thought I heard.
So it's the same thing as making her salary.
No, if you call her exempt, she can't get overtime.
Right.
I think we have the general idea of what we'd like to do, and we can,
Yeah.
the manager, the attorney.
I say around 10 grand.
Exactly.
Make
Put it
it
on
around-
down.
Your soon-to-be new HR director will
round it up
review
to
it.
10, make her
And get us the proper information so that we
That's an
can
HR person.
we would like to do this,
And at 28,
You tell us how.
Buy 4 garage
Okay.
doors for the firehouse.
okay?
Okay.
Everybody good with that? We're not voting on anything tonight.
Let the
She-
HR person figure it out.
They're gonna come back to us and they're gonna tell us how we need to go about doing
Okay,
it.
thank you for considering doing it.
Yes.
Thank
Do I
you.
withdraw my
And-
motion or what?
And you did
Yes.
excellent.
Well, it was
Very
dropped for lack of a
responsive.
second.
Good enough.
Item 6,
Excuse me, what is it?
public participation.
Excuse me, President. Are we
Yes.
tabling that? Or,
On the next.
This was discussion with
Yes.
possible action, we're not tabling it, we discussed it, and the possible action is they're gonna bring back a plan of action.
next agenda? Okay.
Yes.
The HR person's gonna take.
Item 6, public participation. This is the second opportunity for anybody to address the council, if anybody is still awake. Is there anybody that would like to address the council at this time?
Can I?
You're not public.
I am too. I'm a
What?
citizen.
Yes, ma'am, you are.
I would
What?
like to know, how are we going, I hate to ask this at this time, because I know, how are we going to proceed with the interviews? Are we going to ask a couple of questions apiece again, like we did for the city clerk, or are we going?
I'm going to suggest to you that it is 10:20 at night.
We still need to have a plan. We're gonna start
We'll figure that
interviewing
out
on
later.
Wednesday or Thursday. We gotta have a plan.
We have another meeting before this, right?
No, we don't.
Next
No.
Wednesday.
How are we gonna proceed with that, the interview?
Okay. I'll tell you how we're gonna proceed, and then you can all tell me how I'm wrong, okay?
We can-
What we're going to do is we're going to bring these people forward. Each counselor will have, there are 2 people, okay?
One at a time.
Yes.
No, I thought we'd just bring them in.
I mean,
Yes,
that's
one at
fine,
a time.
one at a time,
One at a
not
time.
2 people.
The,
One at a
my
time.
issue is that there are 5 of us, so if each counselor is afforded 10 minutes of question,
Oh.
that a maximum of 10 minutes of question, that creates a 1-hour interview.
Yeah, but what if you ask a question, then I have one, that has to do with what you just asked?
Well, if I've already asked it, why do you have one?
Because it bounced off of your question.
Okay, but we
I
have
think we need to do round robin,
round robin.
yeah.
And so,
Like you asked-
so you can
asked
have a
what you asked.
15-minute question, I can have a 30-second question, and we'll call it even.
So you have
Okay.
a 15-minute break between your interviews. So
Right.
if you
Yes.
choose to use that 15-minute break in your interview, that is fine. I did not designate
Okay.
them for in a specific, you have 1 hour. I just gave you an hour and 15
An
minutes.
hour, that's exactly what we had for the city clerk.
That's correct, and that's what I was trying to do, is make
You
it
asked
fair
two
to all
questions.
members.
And are they all coming, or any of them zooming?
All of
No,
them
they're
will
all-
be here.
They're all coming, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
The first 2 are coming anyway, I don't know about the other 2.
Yep, all 4.
Okay, so, all I was trying to, you asked, I'm telling you, this is how you can make it fair. Each counselor has an allocation of 10 minutes. If you don't use it, you can yield that
Can I
time
use-
over to someone else.
Can I use 2 minutes now and 2 minutes later? No. Well, see, that's why I think we need to do round robin. You just, cause if
You
you
asked.
if you ask something, and it brings up something I want to ask because of his response to your question,
Mhm.
I want to have the opportunity to ask
Well,
it.
you will in your 10 minutes.
Not if I've already had my 10 minutes.
For each one.
Pardon me?
I'm gonna ask the
Yeah,
same
I will
question,
probably do the same thing.
to be
Okay.
fair.
There's no way that my question's gonna last 10 minutes, though. We each have 5 minutes. to
Yeah,
ask
5
questions,
minutes
And then we
is-
can do a rebuttal at the end.
Exactly.
So you want to, your suggestion is that we limit it, our first round to 5 minutes each, and then second round to 5
I think
minutes?
that's plenty.
That will work.
And I don't.
You can live with that?
Yeah,
I
because
don't
then
even know per se, we need to necessarily, I don't think we did that with city clerk. I think we said, somebody, I think there was a moderator who asked some intro questions, the mayor, and then we each had 1 or 2 questions.
Correct, right.
Sometimes those questions were already answered,
yeah,
Right.
and then sometimes.
We are, right.
But we didn't have like minutes and then we sit around.
Okay,
That was my.
so do you want to let the mayor be the moderator again for this?
The mayor or you, it doesn't matter to me who it is.
I don't want to do
I
it.
mean, somebody's gotta kinda run the show.
yeah.
You're gonna have to come up,
You're gonna have to come up with the questions.
If you wanna email me what you want your questions
I have
individually?
definite questions I want.
Then I can put them together in a packet for you, and you'll have them if you want to.
No, I mean, there was like 5 generic questions.
Yeah,
that's all,
that we asked everybody.
That we asked everybody.
Mhm.
And now each counselor got to ask their own question.
Well, you know, like, what is your background? I mean, just something very generic. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about your experience. I mean, that would be where I would start. So let them tell us instead of looking at it on a piece of paper. But that's what the moderator would do.
I think, yeah, the mayor had a list of questions, and then we had our own questions. as
Okay,
well.
if you will give me a list of questions, I would be willing to do the moderator part. I will not be willing to make up those questions. So if the council will give HR a list,
They want to ask questions as well?
They
I
may-
already know everything.
They may be different according to who the person is.
There might be.
I mean, I may not ask the first guy the same questions I asked the second guy.
Okay, so what do you wanna do?
I want to be fair, and I'm.
Okay.
5 minutes and 5 minutes works for me after the moderator asks the first generic question. I mean, that works.
Okay. Do you have any input? I suggest what we need to do, because I'm gonna go to bed soon, okay? You can finish this meeting without me if necessary, but,
Justin has-
all the counselors can give you a list of their questions. I will ask,
I may not come up with them until I get here.
I will ask the questions in that list, and then each counselor will be afforded a period of time to continue with questions that are not on the
No,
list.
you're not asking my questions that I get.
Sometimes one question feeds on another.
That's right, that's what I'm exactly what I'm trying to say.
You hadn't even thought about asking that question, so they gave you some information.
We need, like,
How about I
we
come
need,
up with a generic set of 5 questions for the moderator to read, to do the intro, ask some basic questions.
Thank you,
And
Justin.
then give us each an opportunity to ask 1 to 2 questions in
Follow.
addition to those. As either we bring them with us or we come up with them in the middle of what you're. You may ask
Exactly.
them something about their history in the generic questions that I want to ask about again later. And we just go around and do it.
or we may have read something different than what they tell us.
Right.
And we may want to bring that up.
You would.
May have to.
Okay?
I can come up with a
You wanna come up with the basic question?
Sure.
Your Honor, would you be willing to read the basic question?
If the price is right.
Just say yes, please.
The price
Say
is
yes
that I
real
get to
quick.
go home and go to
And good
bed.
night.
Thank you.
Okay, so a new plan, you're not gonna do anything.
I'll just be here.
Yeah, the vice president is gonna come up with a list of original questions.
Yes, sir.
The mayor is going to ask those original questions, and every member of the council will have an opportunity. And if it isn't over in an hour, there will be a price to pay.
You have an hour and 15 minutes at the most,
Yeah.
and no break.
Brooke will keep us on task.
Announcements. Does anybody dare to have any announcements at this late hour?
Yes.
I thought I did, but I forgot.
Latricia,
My announcement is the 26th and the 27th is the city manager's interview, starting at 5:15.
thank you. Mr. Copeland,
How were the questions? What she was saying.
Chief Stroh,
Mr. President,
like-
there's still time. The door's just open for early election for the November.
Chief Stroh,
I like that title. And I hope they have a new manager on board by the 28th.
Councilor Ross,
I'm afraid I'll
Robinson,
throw them all four out.
No, sir.
Councilor Jones,
Not me.
Councilor Ross,
No.
Vice President Head. Your Honor, this meeting